Chapter 417, Arrodes. Seeing the scene in the silver mirror, Klein revealed a pensive expression. This mirror is very powerful, and it even has its own name. It seems to be a living, sealed artifact. Such items might not be too harmful, but the difficulty of sealing it is very high. It's seldom used except for special situations. This person named Icancer Bernard from the machinery hivemind seems to be highly ranked. He should be a deacon, and definitely not a simple one at that. Divination is limited, so the outcome would almost be the same as the results shown by the silver mirror. Even if I were to go above the gray fog, I wouldn't obtain a better result. There's no way to determine the desired apostle's appearance. There are countless people in Backland with high cheekbones and blue eyes. As Klein was in the midst of his thoughts, the scene produced by the silver mirror quickly dispersed. Following that, words in blood red appeared. Based on the principle of reciprocity, it's my turn to ask the question. If you lie or are unable to answer, you will have to accept an arranged mission by me or suffer a penalty. Klein pricked up his brows when he saw that. Is this some truth or dare mirror? Interesting. The words, which resembled dripping blood, slowly changed into new characters, forming a new sentence. What is Red Light's true name? Red Light, one of the leaders of the Great White Brotherhood, one of the 7 pure lights above the spirit world. Klein thought through it carefully and realized he didn't know the answer. He only knew of Yellow Light, Phenithin. Icancer's throat bobbed up and down as sweat gradually appeared on his forehead. After a brief moment of silence, he said in a deep voice, Nanides. Wrong, the blood-red words on the mirror changed again. Mission or penalty. There was an obvious struggle on Icancer's face. Finally, he breathed out and said, penalty. Just as he finished speaking, a streak of silver-white lightning appeared out of nowhere and struck his head. With sizzling sounds, Icancer's hair stood on their ends, and his body collapsed with a thud. Small amounts of black smoke billowed from his body. However, the mirror didn't fall to the ground with him. Instead, it floated by itself and landed on the desk. After 2 seconds, Icancer staggered to his feet and sat there, panting while shaking. Klein looked at everything in silence, unsure of how to react. After a while, Icancer, who had recovered a little, looked at him and said with a forced smile, You should have heard of sealed artifacts and know that they come with certain negative effects. Yes. Klein looked at the standing hair on Icancer's head and suddenly understood why his hairstyle was so frizzled, messy, and stubborn. Klein couldn't help but say, Actually, you could do the questioning alone. There's no need for you to do it in front of me. Phew, the requirement of using this mirror is that there must be someone watching by the side. Icancer was still trembling. It's so sentient. Klein took 2 steps forward and came to the table. He carefully looked at the silver mirror out of curiosity and found that, apart from the strange patterns and 2 decorative eyes, there was nothing special about the sealed artifact. Icancer, whose side was facing him, trembled as he chuckled. You can pose questions to him, we don't mind. No, I don't have any intention to. How could Klein play truth or dare with something like an Ouija board? As he spoke, he tried to touch the edge of the silver mirror. It's ice gold to the touch and has a metallic feeling. As Klein had this thought, he saw the ancient silver mirror tremble slightly. White words quickly appeared on it. Your loyal and humble servant, Arrodes, at your service. Klein's mind momentarily went blank. Then, he left the table without any change in expression. What's going on? This mirror was still playing truth or dare with others in a very cold and ruthless manner just a moment ago. How did it become like this in the blink of an eye? Klein was amused and puzzled. He quickly made a guess based on the information he had gathered. The silver mirror knows Red Light's true name, so it seems to be related to the spirit world to a certain extent. And the mysterious space above the gray fog seems to be connected to the spirit world as well. At the very least, when I summon myself, I will be able to see what appears to be the spirit world after passing through the door. Is this mirror, named Arrodes, able to sense the aura of the gray fog? While these thoughts were flashing through his mind, Klein saw that Icancer had recovered and stood up once again. He grabbed the ancient silver mirror, while the other two members in the room also stopped pretending that they hadn't seen anything while they were aimlessly searching the room. After a series of inspections, Klein bade Icancer and company farewell and found Isengard Stanton, who had returned to the activity room. "What do we do next?" he asked directly. Isengard replied with a solemn expression. "Let's have Stuart and the others have their families move in together. It will make it easier to protect them. However, this can only be a short-term solution. You and I, as well as Keslana, will act normally and receive secret protection. Let's hope the Desire Apostle can be found as soon as possible. You're a believer of the god of steam and machinery, right?" "Yes," Klein replied as he drew a triangular sacred emblem on his chest. At the same time, he lamented a little. "For the foreseeable future, I can only go above the gray fog while inside the bathroom." In Empressborough, the opulent villa of Earl Hall, Audrey glanced at the elegantly shaped wall clock and slowly sat down in front of the dressing table despite her nervousness and excitement. She was heading to the home of her psychology teacher, Escalante, and take the key step of becoming an official member of the Psychology Alchemists. Before doing so, she needed to time herself well before praying to Mr. Fool for his help. "I should be able to see the angel this time, right?" Audrey thought with anticipation. After a few seconds of silence, she clasped her hands together in front of her mouth and nose and softly chanted the honorific name of the Fool. In 15 Minsk Street, Klein was standing in the living room, looking at the scene which had finally turned quiet as he sighed. To him, the Desire Apostle only meant danger, but to Stuart and the others, it was a change in their lives. "I hope it can be settled as soon as possible. With so many Beyonders with so many sealed artifacts, there must be something effective against the devil pathway." In the midst of his thoughts, Klein suddenly heard a series of illusory pleas. "It should be Miss Justice." Having been prepared, he looked around before walking to the bathroom as if nothing had happened. After locking the bathroom door, he couldn't help but sigh inwardly. "My life has also changed a little." Before the threat of the Desire Apostle was eliminated, he had to reduce the times he went above the gray fog while being secretly protected by the machinery hivemind. Next week, during the Tarot Club, the itinerary must be simplified. However, no matter how compressed it is, it'll still take nearly 10 minutes. Well, constipation is a very normal thing. Who says that Beyonders can't be constipated? Being optimistic, Klein took 4 steps counterclockwise and went above the gray fog. Next, Audrey followed what she had been previously taught and set up a simple ritual, entering the artificial sleepwalking state. When Klein saw her blurry figure inside the Crimson Star, he went through the procedure, first using his spirit body to contain the Black Emperor card, then picking up the paper figurine he cut with his improved cutting skills and sending it out. As expected, the paper figurine gathered the power that was being stirred out of the gray fog, turning into a gigantic angel with 12 pairs of black wings. Audrey watched as the sacred and majestic angel descended before her, wrapping herself in its layers of wings. She was left speechless for quite some time. "This is an angel, Mr. Fool's angel, and it even has 12 pairs of wings, an archangel. This is exactly the same as the descriptions in the Legends of Canon. This is also an angel of our Tarot Club." Audrey watched as the angel's silhouette rapidly faded away. She suddenly felt that it was exceptionally sweet. She thanked Mr. Fool with joy, excitement, and piousness, and then she called the maids and told them to get ready for her trip outdoors. Klein smiled and returned to the living room, looking at the bullet hole in the wall, and lost himself in thought. Should I hang a cheap oil painting to cover it or repair it and paint over it? In Escalante's house at Hillstonborough, 7th Avenue. Audrey left her maid and bodyguard in the living room and followed the mistress of the house into the activity room with Susie, her huge golden retriever. In the activity room, there were 2 other people waiting. One of them was Hilbert Alucard, the psychologist who was introduced to her by Lady Norma. The other was Stephen Hampers, who had organized the previous psychology discussion. At that moment, although it was already time for the banquet, there was only a single ordinary candle lit in the room. The candle was placed in the middle of the coffee table as its faint yellow flame flickered, dispersing the darkness in the activity room. After greeting each other, Hilbert, with his slightly browned skin that was thanks to the tiny bit of southern continent blood in him, glanced at Susie, but he didn't say a word. Audrey smiled apologetically and said, "I feel more secure with it around." Susie also looked at Hilbert with innocent eyes. "Understandable. Please have a seat." Hilbert smiled and sat down on the sofa on the other side of the coffee table. Hampers and Escalante also took their seats. After Audrey had taken her seat, Hilbert lifted the candle wick to brighten it a little. He looked at Audrey through the candlelight. "Now answer me honestly. Are you sure you want to join the psychology alchemists?" Under the illumination of the candlelight, his eyes seemed to be dyed with a hint of gold. Deep within his pupils, there seemed to be another eye, a vertical eye. Audrey's mind suddenly turned adrift for a moment before she regained her senses. She lightly nodded and said, "Yes." Hilbert asked again, "Will you intentionally hurt the psychology alchemists?" His tone carried a strange inducement, as though as long as the person being questioned gave an affirmative answer, they would unwittingly agree and abide by it from the bottom of their hearts. "No," Audrey answered very logically. After a few questions, Hilbert, Escalante, and the others heaved sighs of relief. The former smiled and asked, "Is there anything else you would like to say?" Audrey hesitated for a moment and then displayed her sincerity. "I once purchased the spectator formula at a Beyonder gathering. I'm already a spectator." "That Beyonder gathering is called the Tarot Gathering." Audrey thought to herself proudly.